You know, Joe West, if you don't want me to be creeped out by Barry and Iris being a couple, you really have to stop calling Barry your son while talking to Iris about him being her fiance. Yeah, unless, of course, that sort of thing runs in the West family tree and nobody told me. Yeah! The Flash is back, and I couldn't be more happy about it. I've been looking forward to this, well, since the last season ended. I was going to review every episode of every DC show this season, but I tried my best, but I just couldn't make it to the end of an episode of Supergirl, which is a shame, because I think Melissa Bonacetti, or however you pronounce her name, Bonacetti, I don't know, I've never heard anybody say her name, is great casting in that show. But apart from crossovers, I don't think you'll be seeing any Supergirl reviews here. If I could make it to the end of an episode, believe me. But it doesn't matter. The reviews would just be a 2-hour rant about everything that's wrong with the writing of both shows. So season 3, episode 1 starts out with Wally and Vibe working together. They seem to make a pretty good team with Iris being the gal in the chair, and they seem to make an okay team until they just barely catch Peekaboo, who, if you remember, was a minor villain who, last time we saw her, wasn't even really interested in hurting anyone or being a villain. In fact, she was locked up in the pipeline because she basically just gave up when it became clear her boyfriend had deserted her, and her only interest was getting out from underneath mob debt. So the fact that her time in the pipeline seems to have turned her full-blown supervillain is kind of, well, depressing. Well, I find it depressing anyway. But they just barely catch her. And there's really no surprise when Iris tells them that that 1 out of every 3 metas they try to capture escapes. Clean away. Yeah, things aren't going great for Team Flash. It's clear Wally needs some more training, and he and Cisco do not have the teamwork. Iris is understandably depressed by all this, and the only way she's been able to move on, and it feels completely in character. With any other character, this wouldn't work, but they make it clear that Iris still cares about people and she'll still do anything. That's what I love about the character of Iris West on this show, is that she'll pretty much do anything if she thinks that it will help people, and she and Barry Allen are alike in that way. Yeah. So when she's depressed, it seems to be sucking all the energy out of the room, but it doesn't reach the levels that last night's Supergirl did, at least. She's still a flying samurai with what I can only term as a magic sword shows up, demanding to fight the Flash. So when Kid Flash fails to defeat the samurai, and the samurai just laughs Kid Flash off, Cisco comes up with a plan to get Barry out of the Speed Force prison. however, Iris is against it. It again, at first it comes off as self-indulgent, but you soon realize that what it is it's a defense mechanism she's put up. But she clicks back into place once it's clear this plan actually has a chance and it isn't Cisco just having false hope. Cisco continues to come off the best of all the supporting characters in the show, and probably all the characters period in this show, in that he is not giving up no matter what, and he's using his brains to get out of this. But he needs some help. That's when he goes and meets Caitlin and finds her working in a sleazy bar with jeans with holes in the knees. That went out with the 90s, right? That was one of the most shameful things that happened during my childhood, is people buying jeans that already had holes ripped in them. Why would you pay for that? Just go into any Goodwill or Salvation Army. Well, I don't know. You know, that's supposed to show that she's edgy now. Yeah. That's where Caitlin wins the "look how strong she is" badge for this episode. This is a badge that I give characters who, and it mostly goes to female characters, and it's not sexism on my part, it's sexism on the writer's part, I think, because it happens when they take a normally intelligent character, and again, 99% of the time it'll be female, and when something goes wrong or she has a struggle in her life, she'll forget all the people around her who they solve all this impossible stuff with, and she'll forget all her friends who she has a relationship with, and she'll just turn all and I have to handle this myself. Now, when a male character does it within one episode or within a half hour, if it's a movie, something happens, they get told off by everyone, and they come back into the fold and let them work as a team. But when the writers think that they've written a female character, as being too nice or too much of a pushover, they'll have her do the exact opposite, and they'll treat it like it's a character strength and like she's being independent. But with a male character, it would be seen as independent to a fault because they're just playing into it. And here, it comes off as the exact same thing. It's obvious this bar is full of criminals, and I don't know how Cisco doesn't cite that this one guy who she's obviously with in this bar isn't some sort of evil metahuman who's an abusive jerk who's controlling her somehow. And there's obviously a higher up running this bar, and basically she's rejected everything we know about the character of Caitlin. So in the idea that she can't be that because she has Killer Frost inside of her, and she keeps saying that she wants to control it, and the end of the episode makes it look like she's struggling for control of Killer Frost. But then why would she go into the situation where her life is constantly in danger and Killer Frost lashes out and gives, I mean, it's either when she's feeling threatened or when she gets angry that Killer Frost comes out. So why would she go into a situation that had both? Caitlin Snow is more intelligent than that. She's not that stupid. She has 2 doctorates. She's not supposed to be a complete bimbo airhead. And yeah, I know, she's a supervillain in the comics. But clearly this show has abandoned certain aspects of the comics. So I'm only talking about what makes sense for her character in this show. And here, it makes no sense what they've done with her character. It didn't make any sense when she left last season because she had Killer Frost more under control than she had earlier. And what's more, this team has, and what more do they have to do to prove to her that they're on her side? I mean, they pretty much did everything. Barry proved that he was willing to die to bring her back from being Killer Frost. I mean, what more? Cisco would risk anything for her. So what more do they have to prove to her that they're the people she should be turning to, not a bar full of meta supervillains? Now, she just turns the bar supervillain, and it makes no sense. Fortunately, she's more, and it's tainting the character to the point where I'm saying, stop with this stupid struggle stuff. It's clear you want to make her the out-and-out supervillain she is in the comics, so just let her go that way and stop toying with the character in this way and stop expecting us to believe that she's anything but it, because her actions, because while you have her saying that you have her looking like she's battling Killer Frost, it's clear Caitlin Snow also wants to beat Killer Frost. Otherwise, she wouldn't put herself in this situation. Well, that rant went on longer than it should have. Sorry. So, Cisco manages to, with a few hiccups, to get Barry out of the Speed Force. And he earns the "I've been away, I have a beard" badge. That is when a male character goes away, and of course he comes back with a full beard. Even when he's in an area where time doesn't pass. Every time you have a male character go into some sort of exile and come back, even if it's not in character for him to grow a beard in that exile, he comes back with a beard to show that he's been places and seen things. Even though it makes no sense in this context. Even when it makes no sense in a science fiction context, because he was in suspended animation and time isn't supposed to be passing when you're in that Speed Force prison. You're just reliving the same moment over and over again. So, how did he grow a beard? It makes no sense, and it's done here just for a cliche. So, the rest of the story plays out very much like a regeneration story. Barry's catching up with his memories. He's writing weird stuff on the wall that I'm sure is going to play a part later on, and nobody can get through to him. And we also find out that Cisco, proving again how awesome a character he is the one character who never gave up hope on getting Barry back, because he built Barry a new suit. And it looks great. It's coming to the point where it almost does look like a live-action where it's getting very close to being a live-action version of the suit that we have in the comic books. So that's good. And Barry turns out to be a danger, unable to control his speed, and he seems to have some sort of aphasia. I don't know. I've never heard what he's doing. He's saying the wrong words and associating the wrong words with things at first, and they call it schizoaphasia, but I've never heard this condition called They call it schizophasia, and I've never heard this condition called that before. And I had this twice. I've suffered from attacks of this twice in my lifetime, and I never heard it called that. I heard it called aphasia, but I never heard it called schizophasia, and I can't find anything to suggest this is a real term. So I think the writers just decided to slam two psychology terms together and hope we didn't look too closely at it. Well, guess what? I have no life, so I looked too closely at it. Ha! Well, anyway, so the samurai gets impatient and starts trying to level the city, and nothing else can get through to him. So Iris, again, to keep people from getting hurt, she just lets the samurai take her, trusts that Barry, when he finds out, will come after her, and Barry seems to get this. He flashed out in his new suit, which again looks great. There's a very impressive for broadcast television looking battle at these windmills. It's a thing. Even though you can tell it's CGI, it doesn't really bother me in this context because, well, as you'll learn soon, I watch Blake 7, so yeah. Having to take a cut on the special effects in the quality of your special effects in order to keep the scope of your show, that doesn't bother me at all. So anyway, so yeah, but the Flash always manages to somehow to pull it off. All of these DC shows do, really, competently enough, but I don't think it should bother anyone. But anyway, so he grabs Iris, and we have our happy ending where he defeats the samurai, which turns out was a robot with somebody in control. we see this somebody, and they show his face at the end, and I don't know whose face it is. I'll have to rewatch this episode to see if I can tell whose face it is. We know Michael Emerson is going to be playing a role later this year, and sorry if anything, but I try to avoid spoilers. So sorry if I don't know something that's already been revealed in an interview, but I'll bet you the face didn't look like Michael Emerson. If it was, it's been CGI'd to the point where I can't tell that it's him. But I have a feeling that the final person in charge of sending these robots out is going to be Michael Emerson. And we find out mysteriously that the whole point of this was to bring the Flash out of the Speed Force. And so there is that. Okay, so my final thoughts. This episode does deliver on the promise that they have. It plays out mostly like a Doctor Regeneration story, and that Barry's not all there. And when he does come back, he's somewhat different than what we've seen. He seems to have dropped all the baggage that he had from the past, and that seems to have opened him up to be more fun and just smiling more. So his character has undergone a regeneration. So it's fitting that he that it feels like a good Doctor Who regeneration story. But it does mean he's out of action for most of the episode. But you probably already expected that going in. Plot-wise and character-wise, plot-wise, no, it was nothing special. There wasn't. It could have stood out a little more if it just weren't for a way that they just look how strong she is. This Caitlin. Either make her a supervillain or stop trying to force strength into a role and let her be strong in her own way. She doesn't have to be getting mad at. She doesn't have to be threatening people with ice powers to be strong. That, if anything, you've made the character weaker by doing that. So, yeah. But yeah. But it does deliver on its promise to set up a more fun season without a speedster villain. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. So I'm really looking forward to next week's episode, which I'm guessing they're using the comedy clips to cover up whatever the real threat will be, but we'll see about that. So the final score for The Flash Season 3, Episode 1 is 5 out of 10. Now, it should be noted that in my review scoring system, 5 is average. I know a lot of people use 7 or 8 as an average. Mine is 5 because it's right in the middle of a road. And that means that the episode didn't do enough to sink it. But it didn't lift up above its fault, so it just comes out as average, and there's nothing wrong with an average episode of something. So I'm not saying that this is terrible and you should avoid it. But I'm saying don't expect to be blown away by it either. If for some reason you're watching this before the episode, and just enjoy the episode for what it is.